Hi, welcome to another episode of Warden Stories. My name is Darrin Hill. I'm a specialist in the Communication and Education Division here at the Wildlife Department, and I'm glad you could join us today. We've got another great guest, Jacob Harriet, today. Jacob has been with the department for how long now?
9 years total.
Wow, 9 years. So do you feel like you're a young buck now or
I feel like
veteran?
I 100% feel like I'm young until I look around at all the wardens around me and realize that I'm like over middle of the road now. We have so many new guys now that I'm not the young guy anymore, which is crazy because I still feel like the young guy. But
So how often do you get to interact with these new recruits, so to speak? Do you have any ride-alongs or?
yeah, so all our new guys, through our academy, they have to go through the PT process. Well, I've kind of been running the PT training for that. So all our new guys that come through, I get to work out with about five times a week. So it's I get to know them really, really well, and it makes me feel old, even though I feel like I'm not that old.
PT, what does that mean?
Physical training. So we do like about an hour-long physical training thing. They usually don't like me. So,
of course. So what kind of stuff do you do? So if there's somebody out here that's watching and they're like, you know what, I'd like to become a game warden.
yeah, absolutely. So to start to be a game warden, you actually, before you even get hired on, you have to go through a physical fitness test. We test about twice as many people as we hire, but in that test, you have to swim fully closed 75 yards in a pool. So it's down and back 3 times in a pool. You have to tread water for 3 minutes. We get out of the pool. I have a 200-pound tire that people do not like. We do tire flips, and then we have a 16-pound sledgehammer. We do sideways tire drives. You're actually hitting it sideways. Push-ups, sit-ups. You have to do body drags, dragging a 200-pound dummy, put it in the back of the car, and then we do a 300-meter and a 1.5-mile run, and that's just to kind of see what you're made of, to see you can do it. And then once you get into the academy, we actually do every day of the academy, we'll do a physical training thing. And it might be, we're going to go run one of the local lake dams, or we might, do some weight training or, push-up setups, mostly body weight type stuff. But you definitely need to be in good shape or you will struggle.
So it sounds like if you can make a list of all those things, if you're wanting to become a game warden, start doing it now and it'll be easy.
Yeah, if you can run, do push-ups and sit-ups and are in decent shape, you'll be in good shape. But it's a physically demanding job, and you need to be able to do that stuff. So we try to make sure you're ready for that before you go out into the field.
That's great. So how did you become a game warden? Did you, as a little kid, you were like, that's what I want to do?
Yeah, so actually, when I was 12 years old, I was always an avid hunter, fisherman stuff. The game warden job sounded cool. Well, when I was 12 years old, I had trapped a bunch of bobcats, and when you trap bobcats, you have to get them tagged by the local game warden. Well, I was terrified. I thought I was going to prison. I didn't know anything about trapping rules or nothing. I was just a kid trapping bobcats. And he came out, met me at the house, tagged all the cats, took the time to have like an hour-long conversation with me, kind of told me what he did, and I was like, man, that's what I want to do. And from there, that was my whole goal, is to be a Oklahoma game warden after that meeting. And that's what I went to school for. It did everything, and it just worked out real good for me.
Was that James Shampoo? Who was that?
That was Gary Emmons.
Gary Emmons?
Yeah, Gary Emmons.
Oh, nice.
So it's his fault that I'm here right now.
Gary's a great guy.
He is. Yeah, he's helped me out a lot.
So what county are you stationed at right now?
Currently, I'm in Lincoln County. So I started out in Oklahoma County, got real lucky. Gary was actually in Lincoln County. He transferred to promoted to captain, and then I was able to transfer into Lincoln County, which was super cool. So it worked out good.
It sounds like you work alongside your mentor.
Pretty much, yeah. I don't know if he would say that's a good thing or not, but yeah, we still get to work together from time to time, and he's always down the road if I need anything. So
yeah,
it works out good.
And Lincoln County, for those that don't know, maybe you do, but Lincoln County is pretty close to Oklahoma County, which is one of our more populous counties.
Yeah, so Lincoln County is basically located right in between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. So it's right in the middle. We have a ton of traffic. It's 45 minutes east of Oklahoma City. It is just a highway for hunting and fishing activities. It's close enough that all the metro people can get out there and get leases and have places to hunt, and it is an extremely busy county. Very, very busy. It's a good mix of developed and rural area, and it's a lot of fun.
I would say it takes a special breed of cat to be able to have those counties that are busy like that, right?
The hunting season, you don't sleep much. I mean, it is very active. There is always something going on, and always a lot of people calling you. For sure.
Now, you're married and kid?
Yep. Yeah. Married, have 2 kids, 2 young boys, which is makes it kind of difficult trying to balance that work family life. But I think we do a pretty good job of it.
So do you have any tips for that? Maybe there's some other game wardens that are working for the department. They want to hear, hey, how do I balance this life?
Yeah. to me, 100% family comes first. So you have to do your job. You have to do it well. But it is very easy in this line of work to work too much and work too hard and neglect your family on things. And you know, we don't have somebody telling us to go to work every day, but they hire people that they entrust to do their job. It's very hard to do our job well. You know, we have such a huge thing we're tasked with. Like my county in particular, it's 1,000 square miles. It takes me about an hour and a half to get from one corner to the other. And currently I'm covering Payne County as well. So it might be 2 hours from call to call.
Wow.
It's easy just to work a whole lot and not spend time with the family. But yeah, to anybody that's in any kind of line of work, that family comes first. You won't get those years back with your kids. You won't get those years back with your spouse. So try to spend as much time with your family as you can and still do your job effectively.
100%. I love that.
Yep.
So make sure you stay around to the very end of this, because Jacob's going to give us some really great tips for those that are out there harvesting deer. Maybe you don't know what to do with the meat. Or maybe there's family or friends that want to try venison, how they can go about doing that. So, in the legal way of doing that.
Absolutely.
But before we get there, just like with every one of these Game Warden stories, our Game Warden here today has some great stories that you might want to listen to about catching bad guys or bad girls or poachers.
Yeah, absolutely. So the downside is a lot of these things, they take a long time to process or prosecute. So all the stuff that's currently going on, it's still in prosecution. I can't talk about it, but I've got a couple cases from last year I can talk about. One of them, a huge issue we have right now is with the license prices going up, that the non-residents are trying to falsify resident licenses so they can get tags for cheaper. So, you know, a non-resident tag right now, to say you wanted to hunt with a rifle, it's going to cost them about $700 to hunt legally in Oklahoma. A resident, it's only going to cost you about $50. So they found that out, and they found that, hey, if I try to cheat the system, I can try to get a discount. Well, it doesn't work out that way in the long run if you get caught, of course. So last year I got a tip that a guy had shot a couple deer. He was a non-resident, but he bought a resident license, actually checked it in under his girlfriend's name. His girlfriend was a resident at the time.
Yeah.
So I go out, and it's a lower income area of the county, but they had drove up from Louisiana to stay with his mother. And so there's a pretty nice house on the property. In the back, there's a little shack like you'd store a lawnmower in or something like that. Well, I go in the back, knock on the door, and it just erupts with smoke. You know, they're in there smoking. And they come out, and very nervous, obviously, that I was the game warden there on their property. The landowner, the mother, actually came out and was very upset that I was on her property and didn't think I had the right to be there. I was like, well, ma'am, I'm investigating a wildlife crime. We're going to have to figure some stuff out. So the lady that was there that had checked in the deer, she had checked in 2 bucks that year under her license, and she did actually have a resident hunting license. Got her IDs and said, well, ma'am, tell me about these deer you shot this year. And she's like, well, I shot 3 deer. I'm like, okay, well, tell me about them. She's like, well, one of them was one with horns, and one of them was one without horns, and the other one was one with horns. I'm like, okay, well, tell me about that hunt. Did you hunt them on this place? Just trying to get some information out. Well, she's like, well, I only killed 1 deer, and it was on this place. And obviously her story, she was lying. I mean, it was very obvious. So she couldn't tell me one way or the other. And the whole time the boyfriend is sitting there just he's twitching and fingering, like he's nervous. And I'm like, well, where are those deer at? And she's like, well, I got them here. And in the meantime, after I'd got that tip, I'd actually called the taxidermist that they talked to. And we have real good relations with most of our taxidermists. So if something's up, they'll kind of let you know. And I actually called them and was like, hey, I got this case going on. She's like, it seemed kind of suspect to me. And this is what it was. And yeah, I did 2 European mounts for them. And so sure enough, they have 2 European mounts. Well, I only had a call on 1 deer. Well, now I have 2. And she's telling me the story about it. Nothing checks out at all. I'm like, well, what do you have to say about this? The boyfriend? And he's like, well, yeah, she shot him. She's like, yeah, I shot him. And well, it turns out she never went hunting a bit. So him and his buddy had come up from Louisiana. They came up together, and actually the buddy was on his way at the moment. They had went and they had shot both these deer. So the buddy confessed, the one that I was with, the guy that was on his way up had no idea anything was going on. So he's like, man, I'm sorry. Licenses are expensive. I didn't think to get it. He's like, I shot this deer. My buddy shot the other one. I'm like, well, we need to call your buddy right now. He was currently on his way from Louisiana. He was about 45 minutes out. And I called him and I was like, hey, sir, this is Jacob, State Game Warden. Wanted to talk to you about your hunting activities this year. And he's like, yeah, I don't hunt up there. But, man, his mom is like family to me. I just come up and see her every year. I'm like, okay, where you at? Oh, I'm 30 minutes out. Okay, well, yeah, we'll see you when you get here. Now, am I going to find any hunting equipment in that car? Oh, well, yeah, I got my camel. Yeah, I got all my hunting stuff. I was like, but you're not hunting. And he said, oh, no, sir, I wouldn't hunt. I was like, okay, have you ever hunted before? And the friend that I was with was obviously like, well, I just told him everything, so he knows you're lying. I'm like, well, I'm going to let John take the phone real quick and see John Doe. It's an alias. Let him take a name or talk to you a little bit and see, what he has to say. And he's like, dude, I already told him, just tell him the truth. He's like, yeah, sir, we came up, we shot those 2 deer, we got them mounted, we checked them in under her. She never even went hunting, it was all a lie, but it ended up being several cases of illegal taking of a white-tailed deer, non-resident hunting without a license, which is a pretty expensive ticket. But yeah, they'd come up from Louisiana. I thought they'd get by with the girlfriend's license. And then the crazy thing about it all, the girlfriend didn't even have a resident. She wasn't eligible for resident license. So she also had a Louisiana driver's license, which on a residency, you have to have an Oklahoma driver's license to be a resident.
Yes.
So none of it would have flew anyways, but it was a good tip from a guy that, he just thought something was off a little bit. We made a really good case out of it. So,
and the math doesn't add up because they would just pay the $700 or whatever it is to have an out of state.
I want to say that they ended up paying around $67,000 worth of fines apiece. So it definitely it was not beneficial for them to lie about it. And that was just one. I probably caught 7 or 8 cases very similar to that last year, and I've already made several this year that are still ongoing. So
it's like expensive deer.
Yes. Yeah. It is much cheaper to go buy some beef at that point.
For sure. Now, you have any others? I think you had one recently about a roadkill that somebody...
Yeah, so I did. And, in my work, I want to catch guys that are deliberately out there doing bad stuff. Like they're deliberately going out there poaching or trespassing. That's the guys I want to catch. Well, we always have incidental cases, something that, it's not super serious, but it's an issue. And on this particular case, a gentleman had hit a deer with his car. He had a nice car, hit a young buck. It was it was like an 8-point deer. Very distinct antlers, and the way he had hit it, I always have them send me photos of it. So if they want to keep the animal, by all means, I want you to keep the animal. You can keep the head off and keep the meat, but legally I have to write you a tag because it's on you as the hunter or the possessor of the deer to show that you acquired that animal legally. So got him a tag. It was no problem. Well, a few days later, I have a guy call me. He's like, man, somebody poached my big deer on my place. He's like, that's laying in the road right where the deer crossed, the head's cut off of it. And I went out there to look at it, which those are really hard cases to make. If it's just a carcass laying out there, you don't have a lot of evidence. You might get some tire tracks, might get some shoe tracks, hard cases to make. But it was very distinct that this deer had the exact same broken leg pattern as the deer that this guy had sent me. And granted, this was almost 3 hours away from each other. So I'm covering multiple counties right now. This deer was hit up in northern Payne County, and I'm in southern Lincoln County where this deer is dumped at. So obviously something's not right. I call the guy. He's like, man, I gave that deer to my buddy. I'm like, well, who's your buddy? Well, sure enough, the buddy is, he lives like half a mile away from where that deer was dumped. So he hit the deer in Payne County, gave it to his buddy. He drove it all the way to southern Lincoln County, cut the head off. He kept the head, cut the head off, and then dumped the carcass on the road. Well, everybody in Lincoln County thinks that somebody's driving around poaching deer off the road, just cutting the antlers off. Turns out it's a roadkill. So it's very hard to make those cases. I was able to do that. I talked to the guy. He was a young man. It wasn't intentional. Like I said, not a giant wildlife crime, just an illegal dumping. So wanton waste is a crime where you harvest an animal and you don't take the meat. You're wasting the meat, in which that deer was fresh when he hit it. So he did waste all the meat of that deer, which we don't like to see. Everybody wants some meat right now. We don't want to see anything go to waste, but that is actually the penalty with that comes with a license revocation. So you're no longer able to hunt or fish for whatever the judge said. It might be 1 year, it might be 10 years, which is a big charge for that young kid. Yeah. And I had actually had encounters with him before. He's a big fisherman. I've checked him on the lakes and stuff. I'm like, man, you messed up on this. And he's like, I'll be honest with you. This is what happened. He was completely honest with me, which to me is huge. If you're honest with me, I'll cut you some slack. I understand screwing up, but if you're honest and try to fix what you did wrong, I'm good with you. So I ended up writing him a very small fine. I made him go pick that deer up and dispose of it properly, and it was all good. But it's just not a serious big case, but a good case, mainly to me because those deer that are dumped like that, for one, we get a ton of calls on them, but it looks terrible to people that are non-hunters. So if somebody's driving down the road and they see that deer there where his head's cut off, well, they think all hunters are just bad guys now, which obviously this is a roadkill, not the case, but they don't know that. So we want to make sure that we dispose of those animals properly. Whether that's, you can even bag them up, put them in your trash service, or, bury them or whatever you need to do, dispose of those properly so we don't have those issues.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. And you just filled it in. Like, what's the proper way of doing that?
Yeah. So the law actually says that you cannot dispose of a carcass within a quarter mile of any road, waterway, or place of public gathering. So that limits a lot of areas. Mostly, like in my county, in the rural area, if you have a property, you can take that animal to the back in like a ravine or something and dump that carcass. That's 100% legal. You just don't want it to be a nuisance to somebody else. So if you're on a small property, you don't want to put it in your ditch right next to your neighbor's fence or something like that. In the residential setting, if you have a hunting lease out in a rural area, but you live in town, there's nothing wrong with taking that carcass, cleaning the meat, double bagging it in trash bags and putting it in your trash service. That's 100% acceptable. So,
for sure.
Yep.
That's awesome. And, that's one of the things that I think you're hitting home is that as a hunter, you're constantly being viewed by non-hunters.
Absolutely.
And it's how we act is how we're perceived. So.
Yeah. The only reason that we have the wildlife we have is because those hunters and fishermen buy in their licenses. That's where all that money goes is for conservation efforts. Without that, we don't have it. Nowadays there's a small group of anti-hunters, a small group of hunters, and then a whole lot of people in the middle. So we want those people in the middle, they might not want to hunt themselves, but we don't want them to view us negatively. So it's our responsibility as hunters to give hunting a good light. It's a great tradition. It's a great management tool. I mean, it's really the only reason we have the wildlife that we have now, because we have that emphasis on, wildlife. And so keeping those people on the straight and narrow or giving them good experiences instead of bad experiences is extremely important to me.
That's great. So we're going to wrap it up here, but you've got some tips. We're in a time of Thanksgiving right now, right? We're getting close to that time of Thanksgiving. How does one go about giving away their venison?
Absolutely. So it is illegal to sell or barter any sort of deer meat. You can't do that. But, hunting is our giant management tool. It's the best thing we have to manage these deer populations. We have a ton of does. We have a ton of hunters. It is 100% acceptable. If I want to go shoot a doe and give it to a needy family or somebody that's just fallen on hard times, that's completely legal. I just have to write them a receipt. So that receipt needs to have my name, my license number, and then my confirmation number where we check that deer in, and then just who I give it to and what it is. So if I shoot a doe, I, Jacob Harriet, my license number, give this doe to, so-and-so. That's completely legal. We need more of that. It seems to me that, a lot of times people get caught up with hunting one big deer and stuff, and they're not managing that doe population, which is a huge issue that we have. We have to harvest those does for proper wildlife management. So if you don't need the meat, but you know somebody that does, go harvest those does and give it to them. I mean, right now, the way the economy and everything is, people need meat. I mean, they need it. I have a whole list in my county of people that if I come across a deer or I seize a deer, I try to get that meat to them. And it's not just the game warden that has to do that. Any legal hunter can do that. A legal hunter in the state of Oklahoma, if they're using archery equipment or vice versa with rifles, you can harvest up to 8 deer a year. That is a ton of meat that can go to a family, and it would benefit the wildlife and the wildlife habitat greatly if we did that. And then on that note too, with the roadkills, if you hit a roadkill, same thing, hit a roadkill, you want to save that meat, we can issue a non-legal carcass tag for that. And that's what I did with that gentleman in Payne County. I gave him a tag so he could legally possess that animal. Well, he just gave it away and then it went south after that. But yeah, I would way rather see somebody be able to utilize that meat than it rot on the side of the road.
No, there's another program out there. I believe it's called Hunters Against Hunger.
Yes, absolutely. That is a fantastic problem. I wish it would gain more traction than it has. That program, you can actually harvest a deer. Processors can get licensed or through the state to be a Hunters Against Hungry processor. Mm-hmm. You go, you donate that animal. We ask that you give them just a $10 donation to donate that meat to them, kind of cover their cost. They do it, they grind it up, they give it to the local food bank or another charitable organization, and then the state will actually pay them $100 for that deer. So it's a win-win. They get paid for it, people get meat. It's a fantastic program. Unfortunately, we have so few processors that they can charge, $250 to do a private deer versus a Hunter Against Hungry, they're only getting $100. So it doesn't have as much traction as I'd like it to see, but it's a great program.
That's great. So there's two ways of helping others out there, or maybe even helping yourself. Just would you call the local game warden if you hit a deer? Yes. And you're wanting to?
Yeah. So if you hit a deer, and I'm pretty relaxed in my county, every game warden's different, but I say, leave me a voicemail or shoot a text. I can't always have my phone on me, but as long as you do that, I am fine with you taking that deer and I will get with you and get a tag. So technically, if you hit a deer, just pick it up and take it. You're in illegal possession of that deer because you can't prove that you acquired it legally. But if you call me or another game warden in your county, it's an online check. We'll do it. I do an inspection to make sure it was legitimately a roadkill deer, not a poached deer. But we write you out a tag for it, and you're good to go. And then you can do with that meat what you please. You can take it to a processor. You can process it yourself. Whatever you need to do to utilize that meat.
So Jacob, roadkill deer, do they count toward your season limit?
No, I can give you as many of those non-legal tags as I want. They do not count towards your limit at all. So I've given guys, 5, 6, 7 deer before in a season just because their family needs that or they have a community built on that they share that meat with.
What I hear too, what this is doing is not only is it helping pay it forward, but it's putting hunters in a good light, right?
Absolutely.
So when they know that, when people out there know that there's hunters that are actively helping feed the hungry, I think it puts hunters across the board. And
absolutely. I mean, hunters are our biggest management tool for whitetail deer. We need to harvest those does. It helps the population and it helps people get food.
That's perfect. And it's actually choking Jacob up.
That's right. I'm so emotional right now.
So emotional. Well, thank you for being on today. And hopefully we'll have you back here soon because you've got some other stories. You got cases that you're working on right now that, we don't want to spill the beans, so to speak.
Yeah,
but
some very good cases that are they're pending. So just got to wait before we talk about them.
So make sure you subscribe and like and come back whenever Jacob's on. Thanks for watching.
All right. Thank you.